At 5, we're continuing to look into the background of a former Jacksonville Sheriff's Officer, James Tretchball. We told you last night at 11 that Tretchball faces multiple sexual battery and lewd and lascivious charges that date all the way back to the 80s.
The 67-year-old turned himself in late December, and On Your Side's Nick Perot is looking into Tretchball's background. And Nick, what have you found out?
Well, Jessica Anthony, according to a source close to law enforcement, James Tretchball spent a majority of his career with the K-9 unit. He faces multiple charges involving multiple victims. December 27th might have provided some relief for multiple victims. The 27th is the day the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office say they found evidence that James Tretchball committed sex crimes. Not once, but 2 counts of sexual battery, according to these police reports, one dating back 36 years to 1984.
Usually a lot of these victims don't talk about it until they become adults. They're ashamed, they're embarrassed, whatever, but there's something that happens that breaks that cycle, and then also the truth comes to the surface.
First Coast News crime and safety analyst Mark Bachman offers insight on how police might have led Tretchball to turn himself in.
Perhaps they've interviewed these victims. They may have used him proactively to engage in some controlled telephone calls or maybe face-to-face recordings.
In total, the Sheriff's Office believes there were 11 counts of molestation on a child less than 12. 4 more counts of molestation on someone between 12 and 15. Specifics were blacked out.
Maybe they feared talking about it. They feared him, and he may have threatened them. You don't know. This is just speculation and conjecture, and all those things could have happened in this investigation.
Tretchball retired in 1999 with the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office. As an officer, Jacksonville Sheriff's Office investigations found evidence the 67-year-old participated in unbecoming conduct in 1992 and received formal counseling for improper action in 1994. Now, Tretchball was expected to make a first appearance in court today. That appearance was waived. In the newsroom, Nick Perot, First Coast News, On Your Side.